Hello, welcome to another drive-in double feature. I'm Ryan,
I'm Nathan.
and this is the podcast where we talk about two movies a week every Tuesday and Thursday. But before I get into anything, I've got a Patreon over at patreon.com/drive-in double feature podcast. Just a nice fun time where Nathan and I compare each other's movie tastes, have some conversation, playing some games, just having fun, where you can see all that for $5 a month. But if you choose not to support us, don't worry, it does not affect any regular content. But today, we're going to be talking about 1956, The Bad Seed, directed by Mervyn LeRoy or Leroy, however you want to say it. The movie takes liberties with that name, but
Yes.
uh, it is a black and white movie from the 50s about a little girl that's got a little bit more than been underneath her from the surface.
Uh-huh.
Um, this movie, I've known about it for a while, and because I always see it like when I'm like sometimes I'll be on like Apple or whatever and seeing what
It'll
movies
just
they
pop
have,
up.
and they'll just see what like the Bad Seed or whatever, and I like looking for old horror movies, and this one was always on there too, and I was in the mood to watch an old horror movie.
Real nice. Yeah. Funny enough, I know the plot of this because I think it's been parodied before, but I've actually never really heard of this one, so I was excited to get into this one.
Yeah, this one actually stars Patty McCormack and Nancy Kelly, who were both nominated for this movie, as
Yep.
well as Eileen Heckart, who ended up being nominated for this movie as well, who ended up winning for Butterflies Are Free.
That's right. Yep.
So, but yeah, I didn't know what to expect. I was kind of more so like thinking like total like suspense thriller type, like maybe something more like akin to like an early Psycho or like a precursor to Psycho type of thing, where it's like that
Mhm.
type of like mood and thrillerness to it. But oh man, I got something completely different here than I what
Yeah.
I expected. This movie is one of the hammiest movies I have ever seen. It's just like so much overacting from
Yeah.
everybody, and it's just like I was having a hard time keeping a straight face through most of this
Yeah.
movie. I don't know about you because it was just
Oh
like
yeah.
so exaggerated.
Mhm. So over the top. Ryan, I had a blast with this one. It was such a good time, but like it was so like you said, hammy, like B movie. I do not know. When I saw this movie was nominated for Oscars, I was like, really? Like I really liked it, but not for like Oscar, like, oh, it's a great movie reasons. I just had fun with it.
I was so entertained watching
Yeah.
it, and I had such a blast watching it just
Yeah.
because everyone's just so overreacting and
Yeah.
just all very exaggerated hand motions, just like
Hmm.
completely just like going over the top, like everybody like nonstop. Like the mother is just
Hmm.
she's like practically yelling out like our lines sometimes.
Yeah.
Like uh Rhoda, the little girl character, Patty McCormack, is just like so evil and just
Over the
like
top.
just like this throwing these little temper tantrums, like getting mad because she can't
Uh-huh.
get exactly what she wants. My favorite part though was like the groundskeeper,
Oh,
uh,
Leroy. I loved Leroy.
uh, Leroy,
Sorry, Leroy. My bad.
which that was the other part. I was like weird because they kept calling him it because it's clearly Leroy, but and some
Yeah,
people call him Leroy, but then other people call him Leroy.
Leroy. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's going on.
But man, this is like I said, I mean, it's what it says. I mean, it is like a movie about a murderous little girl, but
Mhm.
I just I was not expecting that level of actingness to it, and I guess there's a reason for that though.
Hmm.
So this movie is originally a Broadway play,
Oh,
and
okay. Yeah.
and at these, I think pretty much the entire cast comes back and
Really?
reprises their role. So the little girl, Patty McCormack, she came back. She did her role. Nancy Kelly came back.
Mhm.
Pretty much everybody. And supposedly, like at the time, I guess like the director, Mervyn LeRoy, just told them like, don't change a thing. Like,
We're just filming the Broadway play, baby. That's all we're doing.
right. And which, because I mean, when you do Broadway plays and stage productions, I mean, just from like an acting standpoint, you
Mhm.
kind of have to act really big because you have to
Yeah.
make sure like the audience in the back can hear you and make sure that they can
Mhm.
get the same emotion that you're trying to put out there. Like really understated subtlety doesn't really work too well in most stage productions, but
Yeah.
so it was very much just like that type of thing. So that was kind of like the direction that they were given, just like do it. And like, because even Nancy Kelly's like, do you want me to change my role in any sort of way? And he's like, no, no, like just do it how you would do it on stage.
Oh my God. And you just listen to the director, you would hope that he has the right vision. Interesting. Because, like, we talked about this before, where usually movies is like act small. That's what's going to work best.
Yeah, it's clearly did not, that was not the direction on stage, because
No.
I don't think I can name one character in this movie that was like subtle.
Yeah, they all make a very big impression. I guess really quickly, I did look up who beat all of them because I think that luckily nobody won for this movie. Nancy Kelly was beat by Ingrid Bergman and Anastasia, which I've
Okay.
actually never seen that movie, but I know Ingrid Bergman's usually, she's great. And then Best Supporting Actress went to Dorothy Malone in Written on the Wind, which I've never seen. Um,
Okay.
and then it was also nominated for Best Cinematography, even though I mean, this is pretty basic, but that got beaten by Somebody Up There Like Me. Never heard of that one either.
Somebody up there. Okay, I never heard of that. No.
Yeah, but yeah, it did not win any Oscars, so which is probably the good choice.
Yeah, like God, I mean, just for sheer entertainment, I can see
Oh
why, but
yeah, yeah.
part of me though is kind of like, because they did, I think I would have, I don't I would have to look, but I think they may have gotten nominated for something for their play stage performances. So
Gotcha. Yeah.
that maybe they won for that, but
Um,
it just I couldn't imagine like they would actually like win for a movie like this.
Yeah, I know, and that'd be such a weird one to look back on. And I mean, this movie, not even the acting is hammy. I think about just this is the very beginning of the movie, the first 5 minutes before you even see Rhoda, who's the little girl, act up or anything. It plays the creepiest music, like the creepiest, like oh, some weird's happening, something tense. Nothing's happening. It's just the family talking, and it's already like, okay, get tense. Something weird's about to happen. I
I
don't know if you
know.
felt that way.
I did not notice the music, so I'd have to
Okay.
re-listen to it. But
Yeah.
I do know, like the thing that was so like they were trying to portray this as like this picturesque family because, and
Hmm.
but then it's like all of a sudden she goes crazy. So uh, I don't know, they kind of delve into this type of like why, like why maybe, but
Hmm.
like the movie starts with their the husband and father like end up having to leave
Hmm.
to go away because he's in the military.
Yeah.
And Nathan, if I gave you a basket of kisses, what would you give me?
A basket of hugs.
They use that line 3 times.
I know. I did. I wanted to stop hearing it. Oh my god. Yeah, this she definitely loves her daddy. Her dad is like they're so nice to each other, so sweet. And then he's gone. Did this mother just seem like a bad mom to you, or just like she was very cold to me? That's probably what the movie wanted to set up. But like anytime her daughter said anything positive, she always had a negative to say about it. She wouldn't even look at her when she talked. I was like, I don't know. She's kind of like a cold mom.
I didn't get that impression.
No, yeah, I did. I don't know.
I I don't know. I just she seemed to really care about her daughter. I mean, to
Okay.
me, I never really got that whole impression. I mean, I did, right away you notice like how overreacting she's like, "Oh, Rhoda, darling." Like
Yeah. I love it, especially their neighbor, the one that's like the psychiatrist that's like tries to diagnose everybody. Oh my god, she was over the top too. I mean, at least for that character, it makes sense. She's supposed to be like an over the top person.
Yeah, she's like the nosy landlord neighbor type, and then
Hmm.
Leroy, like I said, he's the groundskeeper, and
Hmm.
they even like make reference to him, like she's like, "Oh, I always knew something about him was off, but I do know that he fathered some children, so that means he's okay." I'm like, "What?" Like,
That doesn't mean anything. She's even like, oh, he has the mind of an 8-year old, and this guy, I love this character, Leroy. But I would not hire this guy. He is so mean to Rhoda, like horrible to this little girl. I know Rhoda isn't good herself. She's a bad seed, but man, he is it was funny because he like will do like class like school pranks. Like he'll like run into her and be like, "Oh, I'm sorry, excuse me, Miss Rhoda," and then smile like, "Got
well,
her."
they're yeah, well, because he's Rhoda's going to like a school picnic,
Mm-hmm.
and she's going outside, and Leroy is out watering the plants, and she's just kind of skipping outside with her little
Mm-hmm.
shoes on, and he just starts spraying her with water. Like, "Oh, I'm sorry, miss." Like, and just sprays her again. Like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah,
It's like, ah,
yeah,
it was just an accident.
and she's like, "I know you did that on purpose," but of course the other two, the parent and the neighbor, they're like, oh, "Come on, you can't keep doing this accident." But it was an accident. But Rhoda's like in the right here to be like, "Hey, you did this on purpose."
Yeah, and they kind of reveal later is that the whole reason why Leroy is like that with Rhoda because he can kind of sense something is not right about her, and
Yeah, yeah.
he's kind of pushing her buttons to see if she'll snap or whatever.
Yeah,
And
and come to find out later, he's like living in the basement, right? So he hears all the conversations and everything.
yeah,
Yeah,
um, but the main plot point, how we get the kickoff, is that Rhoda is still kind of very bitter that Claude Dangle won
uh huh.
best penmanship at her school, and she's thinking she rightfully deserves that. And
Mm.
she goes to the picnic, and there's a scene too, which there's some stuff in here that I didn't like, which like these conversations like between like the grown-ups or whatever, I didn't
Yeah.
really think so. And then there's this another scene coming up where I was thought was completely unnecessary. But one line I want to mention that a guy said, "This is what the guy said," and this
Hmm.
is just like one of Christine's neighbors, the mother character, one of her neighbors, where he's like, "Well, I'll be a middle-aged mongoloid in Memphis."
That's a line you could only have in a 50s movie.
Yeah, definitely would not fly today at
No,
all.
no.
But they get there's a news report out that one of the kids drowned, and
Yeah.
everyone's like, "Oh no, it's Rhoda." And then but Rhoda does come home and took completely unharmed. And Christine at first is just like, "Hey, like, do you want to talk about this? Like, like
Hmm.
how are you feeling?" It's like, "Oh, mommy, where's my sandwich? Like, I'm hungry." Like, okay, but do you want to talk? Well, about what?
Yeah. Well, I love it because they talk about it and she describes it in detail. Like she saw, she's like, yeah, they pulled his body out and he was dead. I saw it all. Hey, can I have my sandwich now? Like
Yeah,
so like almost like a kid who's like been desensitized to seeing dead bodies.
yeah, completely unbothered by the fact that
Uh-huh.
she just saw a kid die. And
Mm-hmm.
her mom is just kind of like, "Oh, okay,"
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
and this blows it off at first. But um
But the medal's missing off the little boy. That's a big hint.
well, they how that's revealed is
Mm-hmm.
that the school teacher shows up to kind of talk to
Mm-hmm.
Christine, and she's kind of hinting that Rhoda had something to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, "Hey, well, if your daughter knows something, she should probably say something." And she's like, "Well, what are
Mm-hmm.
you implying?" It's like, "I'm not implying anything. Like, what do you mean?"
Yeah,
And
why was she so apprehensive? I get it's her daughter, but she obviously was like, because like the mom's like, you're not saying that Rhoda killed him, did you? And she's like, no, I wasn't thinking that at all. And it's like, why? And then she's out of the movie. She's like, they try to contact her and she just stays quiet.
Yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
do like, but probably my favorite. Well, my other favorite besides Leroy was Claude Dangle's mother, Hortense. Oh
Oh,
my
I was
God,
so embarrassed every time I saw her on screen.
oh, I loved it. She was like, oh, you're such a perfect individual,
Yeah,
aren't you?
and
Yeah,
she's doing the drunk motions, like stumbling around.
swaying, yeah. And like the school teacher is there too while she's like a drunken mess. And when
Mm-hmm.
she shows up and she's like, Mrs. Can't Melt Butter Fern. Like,
Yeah, doesn't she say like later she dyes her hair just like out of nowhere in front of everybody?
yeah. And I mean, this mother, I mean, is very understandably upset. Her son is dead,
Yeah, yeah.
and but it's so hard to take seriously because it's
No,
just
it's
it's like just acting like a drunken fool and just like
yeah,
overacting and like it's so comedic to
it
me.
is.
I just
I was laughing. I think it's even funnier when he played against her husband is there and he's like, honey, we gotta go home. We gotta get out
it,
of here.
it's time to go home and go to sleep and she's like, no, I'm gonna sleep right here like
On the
on the
couch.
couch. And he's like,
Yeah.
and then he's like, no, we have to go home, dear. And she's like, fine, I'm gonna go home. That's a great
Yeah.
idea.
And
And but
the whole time she's like, I want to talk to your daughter. I want to talk to Perfect Rhoda. She's the last one to see him. That's like the whole deal.
well, yeah, because she does mention, like that's where the mother says like his penmanship
Yeah.
medal was gone and
Mm-hmm.
that she pinned it to himself and it had a clasp on it and all this. And
Mm-hmm.
so we don't really know, but after um, Christine, the mom, like goes into Rhoda's room
Mm-hmm.
and actually does find the penmanship medal in her little treasure box.
Yep. Yeah. And then she started, Rhoda's doing lies. And we haven't talked a lot about Rhoda, but she once again, this is a child like hamming it up. I loved her.
Well,
She
yeah,
was so much fun.
well, that's why I didn't mention her yet because
Uh,
she
nothing.
hasn't
Yeah.
snapped yet because when because I when she's there she's like, oh mother, like what are you talking about, what do you mean, like I don't.
Yeah.
And and then she has like another little back and forth with Leroy outside. He's
Mm-hmm.
like, they have them things called stick bloodhounds, where bloodhounds go and smell your sticks with blood on them. And she's like, you and your lies. Like,
Yeah.
you have a lot of things to say, Leroy.
Yeah, and then I love the next scene is her going to mom being like, they they don't have bloodhounds that smell sticks, do they? Like they can't sniff blood.
Yeah, he's like, they put this special dye on and they
That's
find it.
right.
You can
Uh-huh.
wash and wash blood all you want, but it never comes off. I,
Uh, this
I that
guy.
I like it because when he finally does like say like why he's doing it, he's like, you know why I mess with you? Because you're like me. You're mean like me. You're smart like me. I'm smart.
Uh-huh.
You're mean. I'm smart. You're like,
I don't know what this guy's problem is. Why is he doing this?
he hates this child like
Yeah.
so much.
I think the
And
idea is because he talks like to himself and he's like, oh, she's gonna her mom is gonna be alone and lonely with him gone, and I'm gonna get into the picture. I'm gonna get this little girl out of the picture.
yeah, he's
Yeah.
like he's already like the dad's already left and he's already like thinking like cozying up to this mom. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm
I
so
don't
glad they didn't go down that route. So
no, this mom obviously does not like Leroy like at all. Like later on, he's talking to her and she's like, get away from her now, and you're never allowed to talk to her again.
yeah. And
Mm-hmm.
she does eventually get Rhoda to confess because
Mm-hmm.
she because Rhoda in the middle of the night, it's like takes her shoes because her shoes are tap shoes, and
Mm-hmm.
she's gonna try to throw them in the incinerator overnight,
Yeah.
and then her mom catches her in the act, and it's like, "What are you doing?" It's like, "No, give me those!" No, it was just like this big fight, like just screaming and tantrum.
Yeah, and I love later because she confesses, and then this is where another repeated line comes in, like, "Oh, I have such a beautiful mommy. Oh, she is so
Yeah,
pretty."
like totally trying to like emotionally manipulate her mother and be
Yeah,
like I have the prettiest mother in the world. So nice. She loves me.
yeah. After just saying, "Yeah, I killed this boy with my tap shoe."
Well, because she's trying to get like a timeline of the events. It's like, well, why would you do
Mhm.
that? And she's like, well, it's like, well, I wouldn't have done it if he had just given me the medal.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where I think they add on to this that this whole like sneaking suspicion that she killed somebody else even earlier because this I guess their nanny had like a
Yeah.
prize that she was going to give to. She's like,
It,
"Oh, I'll give it to you when I die."
it was
And
like a snow globe with the fish in it.
yeah, and then we find out later that she admits to it freely. I love how like cold she is. She's like, "Oh, I slipped on ice. Oh, I meant to slip on the ice and trip her down the stairs, so she broke her neck."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Her mother's totally okay with the fact that her daughter just has killed two people, admitted to
Yeah.
killing two people, and then she's like, "Dear, go throw your shoes in the incinerator right away, right away."
"Oh, I'll never let them hurt you, baby." Like hugging her, like, "I will never let that happen to you." Um, but it obviously gets to her. When you said there was an unneeded part of the movie, did you mean the whole reveal that they do?
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree with you.
So this movie is about a little over 2 hours,
Yeah, 2 hours, like 9 minutes, I think.
and there's a scene where like there's this whole other like side plot where Christine, the mother, is worried that her father is not actually her birth father,
Hmm.
and and there's a really long conversation between Christine and her father, like, and while they're having dinner or whatever, and
Hmm.
eventually it's revealed that Christine's father is actually a serial killer.
Yeah. It's like, "Oh yeah, you're a baby of a serial killer." I was like, "Really? Is this what we're going for?" Because the whole movie they talk about it the whole time, like nature versus nurture. Like, oh, is a child taught evil growing up, or can it just be born that way? And I think they're really trying to push like, oh, a child can be born evil, a bad seed.
Yeah, like because I mean, this girl had a perfect home life. She was never
Hmm.
abused or any sort of way like that. She just had the ambition to murder people. So,
Yeah.
uh, yeah, I didn't really care for it, and I mean, to me, it
Hmm.
kind of I thought this is where the movie dragged a little bit
Yeah,
in
I
this
agree.
part. And it's probably about like a 10-15 minute scene with them talking. And I'm like, they easily could have cut this out. And I
Yeah,
wouldn't have, it would have been just fine. But
exactly.
that's the only like fat of the movie. Like I thought was unneeded.
Yeah,
And
I agree. Everything else is fun. I think the movie just slows down way too hard there. Like it's not that part isn't really hammy. It's not really fun to watch. It kind of like the entertainment's not there.
um, but we do get to close out, we do get one more interaction with Hortense, and
Hmm.
she shows up, and she's like interrogating this little girl, like,
She's like,
I want to I want to talk to her right now.
the worst part is that they let her talk be like she like holds puts Rhoda on her lap, and her mom and her neighbor are just standing there watching for a little bit, letting this happen because it's like she's like, "Oh, where were you when he died?" Like any parent, even if your kid didn't do the crime, wouldn't let this happen.
Well, yeah, like who would allow this drunken woman to like, let me, yeah, you could talk to my child, like that's a reasonable request, or
Yeah,
uh and she's already like totally sloshed when she walks in,
yeah.
and then she still gives her more drinks when she walks in.
Hmm. Yeah, who gives a really drunk woman even more drinks, especially when she's so belligerent? Um,
Like, woman could barely stand. Like, she has to lay on the couch.
yeah. But I do think it's funny because I didn't know they were going to go this route, but Leroy there actually like figures it out, and I really like that scene because he's like, "Oh, you murdered that little boy, didn't you?" But then she like admits to it, and I love her. He's like, "You actually did it. I was just playing with you. I
Yeah,
didn't know you actually did it." I mean, he's scared of her in that moment.
that was funny because he
Yeah.
was like, because leading up to that, he's like, in prison they got electric chairs for kids too.
Yeah,
They
one.
got a little blue chair for little boys and pink chairs for little girls.
Uh-huh.
And just
The
and
visual of that is too funny.
it's like, I went downstairs to the incinerator. I found some half-shod shoes and I kept them.
Uh,
and and she's like, give me back my shoe. And then, like you said, when he figures it out, then he's like, I ain't got no shoes. Like,
but she won't take it. She won't take it for an answer. She's like, no, I was just kidding. And she's like, give me back my shoes. Just yelling at it. There's so much yelling in this movie, and I don't understand how they don't cause any disturbance, but whatever.
yeah, it's how there's not one noise complaint in this neighborhood. I don't know, but yeah. So he's got a bed full of like straw, kind of like he just kind of
Mm-hmm.
sleeps on straw in the basement. And she goes and steals like a box of matches and just
Mm-hmm.
incinerates the guy, like burns him alive.
Yep, burns him alive, and the mom even sees him burning, like out in the street. She's like, I saw him die.
Which the part that I guess the most like actual like genuinely terrifying part is just like, for me, it was like the screams of
Yeah.
LeRoy. Like, I like it was like an actual like a scream. I was like, oh wow.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it is blood curdling. No, I mean I get it, and then I really like that the mom's reaction is like she becomes like a broken woman. Like, oh, I have to protect my serial killer child now. Um, yeah, you know what movie this is like? The we need to talk about Kevin, but not artsy, of course. And
I
then
haven't seen that one.
yeah, and then The Good Son, which is a classic all around.
That's the one I thought of when I was
Yeah.
watching, because I've seen The Good Son. And
Yes. Yeah.
so that's the one I was kind of thinking of, where it's just like they think they have this perfect child and then it turns out to be a murderer. But
Yeah.
um yeah, they once that kill happens, her mother's just kind of like beside herself because she's like,
Mhm.
my daughter's gonna keep killing people. I have
Yeah.
to take I have to take her out. And she eventually does trick her daughter to take like a whole bunch of sleeping pills.
I thought this was daring for the time because she commits a murder suicide. Like she gives him her sleeping pills to kill her, and then she goes in the back and like shoots herself. And you
I
don't
I
see it, but still,
It's so long. I mean, it's not the first time a movie's done suicide. Like
no.
we've seen like movies where like they jump off a cliff, or like they do
Hmm.
something like really dramatic. But I think this is the first movie where that I know of, the earliest one that I know of. There's probably earlier where like a
I'm
character like
sure.
actively shoots themselves in the head.
Yeah, and you hear it, or probably one of the first times we ever see like a mom killing a child, or a child dying. I mean, the child doesn't die, come to find out, but still like attempted murder.
Yeah,
So.
I after that point, I was kind of because I was like, I went in completely blind. So like at
Mhm.
this point, I'm kind of assuming they're gonna go with the big like fu ending, where it's like
Mhm.
her mom died and the daughter lived, type
Yeah,
of thing.
yeah. I
That's that
But that's the way the book ends. The book and the play, I believe, ends that way.
right. That is how the book and the play end. And
Hmm.
it's the mother does commit suicide, but they do save the little girl at the last minute, type of
Yeah.
thing. And this one, so she the girl, Rhoda, so they save her. She's totally fine. Her dad comes back,
Hmm.
and they're like, but the mom, they're like, there's still a chance. She might. She we're holding out hope for her. And then later, like the mom does survive, and she just has like a bandage on her head, like,
Yeah.
honey, I'm fine. Like it just took a bullet to the head
Yeah.
and just totally fine.
Yeah, and her husband's just like, be quiet, don't talk, don't hurt yourself. I still love you, even though you tried to kill our child, but I love you.
It's there's a she's already like plotting her next kill though, because they're like,
Yeah.
oh, our neighbor, she said she'll give me her parakeet if she passes away. It's like, well, she's not going to go anywhere for a long time, so you're probably not going to have to worry about that. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, okay, well, we're going to be going on this roof, and it's just the two of us. And like, oh, that
Yeah.
sounds fun.
Yeah.
This little shit is like
Uh-huh.
so obsessed with the fact that she wants that medal so bad because the
Mm-hmm.
mother earlier in the movie said she took the medal back to the pier where the little boy drowned, so that way in case they
Mm-hmm.
found it, it would be there. But the
Yeah.
girl she's not satisfied with that. She wants that medal.
Yeah. And this ending is so dumb. This is what I talked about last on Tuesday was the Hays Code. This was a Hays Code thing. The bad guy couldn't win. So one of the most insane endings where she gets struck by lightning and the biggest lightning explosion I've ever seen.
I kind of assumed she was going to die at this point, like when the
Yeah.
mother was alive and she's by the pier. I thought it'd be something like the
A
pier would
vengeance thing.
like the
Or
pier
okay.
would no, I was kind of thinking like the pier would probably collapse or
Mm-hmm.
something at this point. But then when the lightning just hits this girl, Rhoda, she just explodes. She literally explodes and
Yeah.
she's dead. And then it's just like credits, movie
Yeah.
movie over. And then they
Yeah.
even have like a disclaimer at the end where it's like, don't tell anybody about the ending.
Yeah, you know why? Because it sucked. Because they don't want anybody to know the ending sucks.
Oh, that's
They
up for debate. That was a great ending. What are you talking
okay,
about?
all right, yeah, sure. No, Hitchcock was originally supposed to direct this. They like offered it to him. I really think he would have definitely stuck with the FU ending. That seems very Hitchcock.
Oh yeah, but yeah, you're
Yeah.
right though. It is a Hays Code thing because, like you said, that
Hmm.
is originally how the movie was supposed to end, is with
Hmm.
Rhoda being alive and she was being able to continue her killing spree. But
Hmm.
they had to change it because they couldn't let the bad guy win.
Yeah.
And but the other thing too that I thought was weird, which they did kind of like the whole like what you do like at the end of a play or something where
Yeah.
they bring out the entire cast like and they all come out and do like the little bow at
Hmm.
the end. And at the end, the lady who plays Christine, Nancy Kelly, just like, come here, you, and just picks up Patty McCormack and just starts spanking her.
It made me so uncomfortable, like for real, because like she is really spanking her, and like I mean, I know it's playful because I forget her name, the actual actress, but
Patty McCormack.
Patty McCormack, yeah, she's laughing like stop, no, no, but she's like hitting her butt, and I'm like, I really don't want to see this at the end of this movie.
I just okay, as ridiculous as that ending was,
Yeah,
I was just like, okay, they ended it on that, and like, what if people are like, oh my god, like shocked, and then you see like this little like
comedy
comedy
bit.
bit at the end. I'm like, it reminded me like of the movie Being There because
Mm-hmm.
they like famously like Peter Sellers hated the credits of that movie because they ended the movie on a blooper reel.
That's right.
and
Yeah.
and he was so mad because he thought that ruined his chance of winning an Oscar because they put in
Mm-hmm.
a blooper reel at the end. And this one, it kind of made me think of like the same thing. It's just like at the time, I guess maybe it was considered great performances, and it's just like imagine it just ends with like that, like that
Yeah.
comedy bit. But the reason why they did that was a holdover again from the play, was
Gotcha.
because the play would end on such a dark note that like
Mhm.
audiences were really uncomfortable afterwards, where they're just kind of like, ooh, like that's
Yeah.
it, like. And that was kind of like their big break the tension moment, was like the movie ends and then Nancy Kelly would come out and just be like, "Oh, well, now you're gonna get it," and then she'd get spanked. So that's like
Yeah.
that'd be like the big like haha like
Yeah.
See, it's all she got what she deserved.
Imagine every night after you finish doing your play, you have to get spanked in front of a giant crowd.
I know.
To some people, maybe that'll be fun. I don't know, but I
Yeah,
don't know.
maybe they might have a good time. But
Who knows?
this movie was remade a couple of times,
Mm-hmm.
and there was a bad seed in the 70s, I want to say.
Yeah, I think so.
And but that one I think was a television movie.
Wasn't the
And
other one too, the Rob Lowe one?
oh, oh yeah, there is a Rob Lowe one.
Yeah,
That's right.
and that's a Lifetime Network movie, which
Yeah,
has a sequel as well.
the
The
bad
Return.
seed returns,
Yeah,
and that one actually does have Patty McCormack in it.
yeah,
So
which
Patty
is
McCormack, she does come back in a cameo for that movie.
yeah. And then I think there's like a weird like Patty McCormack is in like a movie that is based off of Bad Seed, but it isn't. Like it's like a what do you call it? A spiritual successor. But I forget what that
Really,
is called. Yeah. What a weird legacy for this movie. Yeah, Mommy. It's called Mommy. It's from 1995. And yeah, Patty McCormack is a mother of like a 12-year-old, like of like a psychotic kid. So she gets to play the mom this time.
okay. And then that
Yeah.
one had I'm looking, and that one had a sequel too called Mommy's Day.
What is going on with the Bad Seed franchise?
This movie has so many. It's got all kinds of twists and turns.
It really does.
But
Um,
what else is there to say? I like I said, I had such a good time watching it.
mhm.
It like I said, it's not like a great movie where it's like I guess maybe like it's just I don't know what it is. It's just there's so much overacting in here. It's just everything is so ridiculous that
Mm-hmm.
it's really hard for me to take it seriously.
Yeah,
I had such a fun time watching it, and if you love watching movies like that where it's like over the top performances, I would definitely give this one a recommend.
yeah, I highly recommend this one. I had a lot of fun with it. It's a great time. Like it seriously like is like it's not a B movie. Like technically, it had a lot of funding, but for me in my eyes, I find it to be a B movie classic. Like this is cheesy as hell. Love it.
Like
Check it out.
yeah, like nobody ever talks about it, so that's
Yeah,
why it I can kind of see why now, I guess,
yeah,
if but I think more people should watch it now.
totally agree. Totally agree.
But that'll do it. So, Nathan, what we're going to be talking about on Tuesday?
All right. On Tuesday, we are going to be talking about Ken Russell's Crimes of Passion, which is on the Criterion channel right now.
Terrific. Can't wait.
Mm-hmm.
If you like this episode, do you have any thoughts, opinions on it? You can email us over at drivein-double-feature-podcast@gmail.com. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at DIDFpod and check out the Patreon once again at patreon.com/drivein-double-feature-podcast. But until next time.
Until next time.